Hello, Actives. Welcome to the May Founders Call. It's a pleasure to greet all of you. Hope you're having a fantastic May, celebrating Mothers and Mother's Day. I'm joined here by my partner, David Brown. David, hello. Hope you're having a great May and hope you had a great Mother's Day. Tell me what the Brown family did to celebrate Mother's Day this month.
So far, so good. Hi, Ryan. Had a great day. We turned the cooking chores. Usually I take them over, and that means grilling something, trying not to burn something on the grill. But this year, my married son and his wife and one of my other sons took over the cooking duties, and they made some great food, some birria tacos. I don't know if you know what those are, but those are they're pretty good. And so it was good stuff. Thankfully, with Arrow, I was able to not get too fat on what we ate there, but it was good stuff. And I hope everyone listening today had a good Mother's Day.
Yeah, Mother's Days are always a little bit scary for me because I don't want to insult my kids, but I've got 4 young kids, as you know, and that's the day that we cook also. And so because of that, it's a little bit scary. We didn't have any house fires this year. And we burnt a few things, but it was a lot of fun, and it was great to celebrate not only my wife but my mom also. And I know that this month we've been celebrating Mother's Day all month long here at ACTIVZ. We've had a great Mother's Day promotion running in all of our countries, and the numbers are great. It's exciting to see people taking advantage and getting that full set of Amora, with any purchase of 200 PV or more. So the month is still, we've got the better part of the month ahead of us, still 2 weeks remaining. So that promotion is going to run all month. And I would just say that, something that we all try to do, I know you try to do this, David, but, not just celebrate Mother's Day on Sunday, or if you're in Mexico on Monday night, but really try to keep it alive all year round, if not at least during the entire month of May. And, I find that a happy wife makes for a happy life. And that's certainly not my saying, but a person much wiser than me taught me that one. So Mother's Day all year long. Well, David, we had an adventure, right, that we've not talked about yet publicly on any Founders Call. And we traveled south of the border. We traveled to the Caribbean, actually, to recognize some of our top achievers. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because for me, that kind of embodies the month of April. April is an incredible month, but it was amazing to be in the DR. What were some of your highlights?
It really was. Well, one of the highlights, my wife and I, so we actually celebrated kind of an early Mother's Day, and I know that you were able to go down there with Michelle and the kids, and it was actually kind of fun to be with spouses and be in an environment like that. But because we wanted to take the over 100 participants a bunch of swag like shirts and hats and water bottles and all this kind of stuff, I actually checked 2 large extra suitcases filled with all that stuff, and we hoped we weren't going to get stopped in customs for trying to deliver contraband or something like that. We got into Santo Domingo at like midnight. No one seemed to really care that we were there. They just wanted us out of the airport as quickly as possible. So that was a highlight in and of itself. We made it through. But what was really interesting, and this is one of the most impactful moments to me, was the next day as we were getting on a bus and we went down from Santo Domingo to about 2 hours to Punta Cana, where the resort was. And we were looking forward to the beaches, and we were looking forward to the events, and we were looking forward to getting together with everyone. But on the way, it was really interesting. It's beautiful countryside, and Dominican Republic grows a lot of sugarcane. And so we saw a lot of sugarcane, and we saw it being harvested. Now, they weren't using big combines and things like that. And it was it's hot there now. I mean, what was it? 85 degrees, 90% humidity, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not,
at least.
It was not a cool temperature. And yet you saw people out in the fields with machetes cutting sugarcane by hand. And I was later told by a Dominican, he says, actually the Haitians, and they share the island of Hispaniola. He said, the Haitians are much better at cutting sugarcane than we are. He said, guess how much one guy can cut in sugarcane in one day? I said, I have no idea. He said, 5 tons of sugarcane. And you might wonder why that was so impactful. And the reason it was so impactful is I thought, you know what? These people are working really hard. They're trying to provide for their families. It's solid work and it's honorable work. But hard work by itself doesn't guarantee that you're going to have everything that you'd like to provide for your family. And even though compared to people with no work, that wielding a machete all day long was a vehicle to put some food on the table, I was thinking about the vehicle that we have here at ACTIVZ, where people can combine hard work with a true opportunity and lift themselves up in a way that otherwise they just might not have the opportunity to do so, despite their willingness, despite their hard work, despite being great people. If they just don't have the opportunity, it's not going to be possible for them. And that was one of the most impactful things that occurred. And that was even before we got to the resort and saw everybody.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation. I made a similar observation. I thought this, and you and I talked about this quite a bit down there. First of all, what stands out to me most, it was probably when we welcomed everybody. The day that they got there, and see the looks on their faces, not having seen many of them for over a year in some cases. I've seen a few of them, but many of them, it's been a long time, and the emotion of being reconnected with an old family member, because that's really what they are. The people that qualified to be there are very special people. They are why we are where we are at as a company called, as a company. And so that was neat, just walking them off the buses and meeting, in many cases, their kids and their spouses, and just that moment of emotion. And if all of you watching this Zoom right now or this video haven't seen the videos, watch the videos. We actually published a lot of videos, and a lot of the videos, there are clips of us welcoming people off the shuttles as they arrived. And it was one of the more emotional times for me at the event. It was fun because we got to really celebrate Aero down there. We had, one of our nutritionists was down there with us. She did trainings, and we had a contest, 2 weeks prior. And we had, for who could lose weight and who could lose inches. And David, you'll remember Tuesday morning when we got everyone together and we had them weigh in and we did measurements, and Annette Jimenez really led that session. It was incredible to see how all in our people are. They are championing the trifecta. They are taking the trifecta everywhere. And now with Aero to boot, it really is putting us on a map. And so that was fun because all week long, we wore Aero shirts, we had, active shirts, we played soccer on the beach. It was just great. And it's great to see how these elements of our brand are really becoming staples for people. Just a quick observation along the lines of what you shared. One thing that I noticed that wasn't a positive thing, it was sad, it was to see how the economy has been decimated as a result of the pandemic, right? A lot of the tourism has stopped, or it stopped for the better part of a year. Now, finally, it's starting to pick up again. The people in the Dominican Republic, you can tell that they are just excited, right? That tourists are there and they're coming back. And still a lot of the area that we spent time in was largely vacant. But it really made me think a lot about what we do at ACTIVZ. It made me think a lot about empowerment. It made me think about how we're improving health and wellness, as well as financial health and wellness. And we talked about that a lot with our distributors down in Punta Cana. And many of them got to work, and they talked to a lot of Dominicans. And that is the first trip I've ever taken in my life after years of doing incentive trips, David, where almost without exception, every person that was spoken to said, hey, I'm interested. I had so many employees at the resort come up and were introduced to me as a new member of ACTIVZ. I met with some leaders that traveled 3.5 hours to the resort to sit down and meet in the lobby with me one day. And they're now building. They've joined us through Global Connect, which, if you don't know what Global Connect is, anybody can enroll as a U.S. distributor, and we can drop ship for personal consumption only product to them around the world, and we can pay them commission. So the Dominicans are incredibly excited about that, and it just underscores how important taking control of your personal economy it is, because you can't predict a crisis. We can't predict a global crisis or global pandemic ever, and it's happening all over the world. Still, it's happening here in the United States. Looks like it's getting better, but But the message that we have at ACTIVZ is one that we've got to pay attention to, right? It's about revolutionizing personal economies and helping empower families to take control, take responsibility for their own welfare. And it was neat to be in the DR, not only celebrating, not only hanging out on the beach and playing soccer, but also meeting new members of the family. That they're Dominican. So if you're watching this from the DR, welcome to ACTIVZ. Good to have you part of our family. So David, I don't know if there's anything else that stands out to you in April. It was obviously a banner month for us as a company, but now in May, what are you looking forward to as we're halfway through the month?
Well, it really was, despite the fact we took a lot of people who had qualified for our thrice delayed incentive trip, finally there, we took them out for more than actually just over a week. They still stayed engaged. They still worked because they knew that their business depended upon them and their team. And actually one of the things that actually stood out, in addition to all the things you talked about, was the desire, the overwhelming desire of everyone there to next time bring their whole teams with them and share, even vicariously through almost constant. It seems like everywhere I went, there was somebody that was on Zoom or somebody was on a FaceTime call or something where they were walking around sharing the experience with other people. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. We're just asking people to share. We're not selling people. We're not pushing anything. We're simply sharing and sharing opportunities, sharing the health benefits. And when you think about May, you think about spring, and it's a time of planting and planting seeds. And sometimes people think, oh, how can I've got so many things going on. I've got my regular job. I've got family life. I've got church responsibilities. I've got civic responsibilities. My kids playing in 10 sports or, whatever. And I'm reminded of the fact that, we don't plant seeds on the top of the soil. We plant seeds in the soil. We cover them up where it's dank and dark and things are closing in upon it. And that's where they germinate and sprout. And I think that sometimes, and other people smarter than me have used this analogy to say, hey, just when everything seems to be overwhelming, that's actually sometimes when our seed can germinate and we can really say, okay, I want something better. And you've talked about this a lot in the past years that we've known each other, that May really is a great planting time for subsequent months. And so I just think that the lessons of Punta Cana, to me, are to share, to try and don't pre-qualify. I mean, I think of Oscar Pena in Colombia. We're not even officially there yet. He's building his business through Global Connect that you mentioned earlier. What does he do? He makes calls to people who are in the Dominican Republic. I don't even know that he knew them very well, but he's like, well, might as well call them up. And they accepted the invitation that you met with, and I know you introduced them to me. And this is something where they don't have the resources. We're not on the ground. We've not held any meetings in Colombia, and yet somehow they're becoming A8s, A10s, on their way to A11s and A12s, and just deciding, what? And what you mentioned earlier is also important. Oscar realized before the pandemic hit that he wanted something different in his life. And so whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a job change, whether it's new children being born, whether it's children going off to college, there's always going to be something, it's called life, that happens that we need to be prepared for, both physically as well as financially and emotionally. And I think that's really the promise of ACTIVZ, that we're there to support you. And whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a job change, or whether it's just you saying, you know what, I'm tired of feeling crushed down with life. I want something different. And this is what it's all about. And I think May is a great time of rebirth for all of us to think about.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a great analogy. I hope everyone holds on to that. I like gardening analogies. Gardening analogies is probably the best analogy to think about what we do at ACTIVZ, right? And how we grow a business. Specifically, if you're a distributor, a lot of people think, well, I contacted all these people, and that is kind of tantamount to going and putting seeds in the ground. You've got to water, you've got to give them sun, you've got to weed the garden, right? You've got to tend to it. Otherwise, they're not going to survive. And so, you know, that's another simple analogy on, hey, if you want to grow a successful business, treat your business like it's a garden, right? Pay attention to it every day. Make sure you're not just saying, you know, calling through that list and saying, well, I called, you know, everyone on my list and they all said no. Well, all you did is plant a seed, right? What follows that? So great analogy, David. You know, you brought up Oscar Pena, and yes, talking about May, you know, this is, we all have high expectations for May, but I want to say a word quickly about May right now in Colombia, which is, as you mentioned, a country that we're not transacting, well, we're not officially in. We are transacting business there through Global Connect, but they're going through a very difficult time right now. If anyone's watched the news, very difficult time. There are protests taking place all over the country. The government, you got to love the governments, the countries we all live in, is imposing a new tax on the people, a very heavy tax. And as we can all imagine, the Colombians are reacting as you might expect them to. They're taking the streets, but there have been a lot of destruction. There have been a lot of deaths even taking place in Colombia. And I just interviewed Oscar not too long ago, and another member of his team, Juan Carlos Hernandez, who's a new A8. And I asked him about this specifically. What are you guys doing? You know, how are you able to do this when the country is erupting all around you? Because everyone here listening knows that life can be very distracting sometimes, right? This last year has been very distracting, and it's very easy to sit inside your house. And it's kind of funny to me how the media talks a lot about Netflix and how everyone's watched all of Netflix. In my mind, I'm like, I haven't watched one thing on Netflix, and I hope no one watched this video has either. What an incredible waste of time. I mean, sure, we want to enjoy life, but you know, when there's an epidemic, there's people who curled up in the fetal position. There's other people that are selling Kleenex, I think is the statement. So let's take advantage of opportunities. But back to Oscar, what Oscar shared today, and his new A8, and Oscar, by the way, just hit A11 this last month in April during this crisis that's taking place in Colombia, as well as Juan Carlos hit A8, and they had some A10s and A9s, actually a lot of them this last month. And they said, look, we just don't have any other options. And when you remove other options, when you close the doors to other potential opportunities or potentials, it allows you to focus. He says, there's no secret to what we're doing other than we're focusing, right? Our secret is we focus. And our secret is we focus because we don't have other options. And it's not that having no other options is a good thing, but it does kind of help us understand why in horse racing, why they put those blinders on the horses, right? So that they don't get distracted by what's happening next to them or over there or you're behind them. It allows them to focus on the road ahead, on the track ahead. And so that's essentially what Oscar explained to me. And that's a great lesson for me. It's a great lesson for everyone in Colombia that's going through that. But in watching the news, the US isn't too much different than Colombia, frankly, in some of the distractions going on around us. So, my encouragement, my invitation is that we can all kind of take a page out of Oscar Pena's book and just remember, and he only has 6 months with us, David. I think you know that, but everyone should know that. He's only been with us 6 months. And for anyone that says, oh, you can't hit A11 in 6 months, well, there were people that said you can't break the 1 mile, the 5 minute mile, the 6 mile, 4 minute mile until someone broke it. And then once it was broken, lots of people started to break it, right? And so I want you all to when I say take a page out of the Oscar book, please do that, right? You can accomplish great things. It doesn't have to take a year to hit A11. It doesn't have to take 2 years. You can do it in 6 months, right? There's other people that are hitting A12. Someone, actually in Mexico hit A12 recently, last month, 2 months ago, and did it in 6 months. So it went from 0 to over 100,000 a month in 6 months. And this guy is not a network marketer, right? He's just passionate about our products. He's passionate about helping people, and he doesn't waste time, right? When people are, time wasters, he says next, and that has allowed him to grow. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about May. I'm excited about focus. I'm excited about planting seeds, to harken back to your analogy, David. And we've got the great things ahead of you. What's coming? What's coming? Well, we've got the upcoming global virtual event that we're going to be broadcasting live from the ABC studios, or the ABC affiliate in Salt Lake City, with a member of our advisory board, your old friend Richard. And that's exciting. We're going to be announcing some big things. David, do you want to tip your hat on anything as to what may or may not be coming in July? Or do we want to have everyone just wait till they get there? What are your thoughts?
Maybe we should say that we're going to recognize from now on somebody who gets to A12 in 6 months, and we're going to, that the award that we give is going to be called the Oscar. Oh wait, I don't think we can give it Oscar. That's probably taken, so we'll have to do something else. But
got a ring to it.
Between now and then, we have an upcoming medical forum with Dr. Rish Patel, and I would urge everyone to stay tuned for that on the 25th of this month. Dr. Patel is on fire because many people on his staff have been coming to him saying, this OptiMend stuff is unbelievable. It's kind of funny if you think about it, because there he is, a pain management doc, and he's probably given them other stuff over the years. And yet what's got them really enthusiastic is talking about OptiMend. I think it's okay to share that we've got some great announcements that not only affect the company as a whole, but will affect all of you individually if you choose to take advantage of them. And I think there's some great initiatives that we have outlined, and some great announcements that I think people are going to be I know I'm really excited. In fact, I was on a call the other night, the newcomers call, and I told them, as a recovering lawyer, I've never had a problem keeping confidences or not telling secrets. Just, that's not my personality. But I have to admit, with some of the things that we have going on and that we're about to announce, it's kind of hard to keep it to ourselves because there really are some exciting things coming up that we're going to announce that I think that everyone is going to be excited about.
I agree. I don't think we'd be exaggerating. I don't think it'd be hyperbole to say that they're game changers. Every so often we're going to announce things and launch things that will have the ability to really ratchet up your business. So make sure you're prepared for that. We're going to be announcing soon the next incentive trip. I get questions on that all the time, and we would like to invite all of you there. All of you, make sure you qualify to be there. I can tell you, in preparation for the announcement, what you should not do is wait around for the announcement to know how to qualify. Build momentum, because people that have momentum in growth are the people that will qualify for it. We're designing the incentive qualification requirements around that concept of momentum and growth. So start right now, if you haven't already, and really start creating momentum in your group. That means duplication, it means retention, reorders, all the good stuff, right? Start setting have a monthly plan of action, a weekly, a daily plan of action. If you're not doing that, just start. I love that. I love a quote that I'm not sure who said it, so I'm not don't want to incorrectly attribute it to somebody, but it says that goals are like magnets. They'll attract the things that make them come true. And I think about that, David, in my life, and it's true, right? When you really have a goal and you write it down and you think about it, you dream about it, you believe that it can happen, and you actually feel the emotion of it coming true, it turns into a magnet, right? And magnets attract things. What do they attract? They attract the things, in this case, goals, that help it come true. And for me, ACTIVZ has been that. I remember just thinking, it wasn't called ACTIVZ, it didn't have a name, but thinking about doing this, right? And really believing it, and starting to put my money where my mouth was, and having phone calls with you, having phone calls with famous scientists and doctors and people in Mexico, and lo and behold, it turned into a big magnet and attracted the things that made it come true. So ACTIVZ is a testament. That's a true statement. And then the other thing, the statement that really comes to mind is we always want to think about, okay, I'm gonna do what Oscar did. I'm gonna hit A11 in 6 months, or what Daniel Pizarro did, and I'm gonna hit A12 in 6 months. But if that's what you want, if that's what you really want, you're not going to be able to decide that for yourself. You can only decide your habits. Decide what the habits are that you're going to engage in every single day. Then those habits, they're going to decide your future. They're going to decide if you hit A12 in the next 12 months or A16 in the next 24 months. So let's make sure that we're sharpening our saw, that we're taking full advantage of April. Historically, David, like you said, it's a huge month in the direct selling industry. And with the economy opening up, with the country opening up, let's get out there, right? Let's be the first out of the gate to really get ACTIVZ on the map, and let's show up to the virtual event in July prepared for some big announcements, that will be game changers. So that's what I'm excited about. Any final words, David, before we send everybody off?
Well, I just really like what you said about in terms of, the goals are one thing, but the habits to get you there are the important things. And I know that people sometimes get really disappointed and down on themselves because, Aunt Sally said no, and cousin Jim said no, and the neighbor across the street said no. And so they feel like because those people said no, that they then are a failure. I'm like, absolutely not. You did exactly what's within your control. You presented it. And yes, we can always get better at presenting. We can always do better, but to judge ourselves on things that aren't within our control, just not fair. And so wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, if you're giving your best shot, and if this is your opportunity to get to where you want to go, not because of desperation like Oscar and some others might be feeling in Colombia, but you think that, I've got other good things in my life, but I will not get to where I want to go without this vehicle. And once people decide that and really go for it, you've seen it, I've seen it. It's just amazing the things that they can accomplish. And we're full of stories like that. We could talk all night about people who come from all types of backgrounds within ACTIVZ and are changing their lives and the lives of hundreds and thousands of people around them. So everyone listening to the sound of our voices have every single talent, every single attribute necessary to be successful. And we're here to help you. And if you don't quite have enough belief in yourself, Ryan and I have enough belief in you for sure. You're doing great things out there. Keep it up. We look forward to seeing you.
Right. All right. Thanks, David. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us this month on the May Founders Club. Join us again next month in June. We'll have some more exciting things to talk about. And let's go out there, be product of the product. Let's share the good news about our cutting edge technology. And we wish you all the best. And from Utah and California, we send you all the best. Thank you, David. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, Ryan.